From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Coming up, an intricate moving scam hits a Billings family.
All new TVs, computers, laptops, for a brand new fridge.
Plus the latest on the Cohen Parker case.
I'm ordering bond in the amount of $100,000.
And a win for members of the trans community against the state of Montana. All right, good morning and welcome to Montana This Morning on this Friday, September 16th. We've got breaking news this morning. A woman is in police custody for an overnight shooting in downtown Billings that landed a man in the hospital. Now, police say a 43-year-old victim's injuries are said to be pretty serious. They found him just after midnight in the 300 block of North 25th Street. The suspect, an 18-year-old woman. Officers are investigating, and they say everyone involved in the shooting is accounted for. New this morning, a Billings family says their belongings are being held for ransom in an intricate moving scheme. Now that family is living without 99% of their possessions, trying to get anyone to help. I spoke with the Bell family and have more on what you need to know before you call a mover.
Jimmy Bell, his wife, and their 6 kids are the latest victims in a moving scam.
July 27th, we left. And my wife and kids they wanted a new kind of fresh start.
They packed up their 5-bedroom home and headed out. That's when the trouble began. He reached out to a moving company called Southern Guarantee. He's used it before with no issues, so he ordered up a 53-foot moving truck.
He showed up in a 24-foot box truck Enterprise.
While the family was already on the road, Jimmy says he got a call. The driver was asking for thousands of dollars more to deliver the contents.
And I said, I already paid you in full, plus it went, nope, that's what it's going to cost you. Yeah, it is more. I said, because you didn't show up with the right trailer.
For more than 40 days, the family's household items sat. Jimmy says being held hostage for more money.
And I just all told him, where to go.
But he already paid them $17,000. He says the truck and his stuff was taken here to a Billings storage unit where it sat until recently.
And he couldn't verify who moved the units in.
Okay.
So we couldn't give him any information, and then 2 days later, the people who had the unit moved one of them out, and the other one is partially still here.
Southern Guarantee is a moving brokerage company in Florida. I reached out to Bethany Cook with the company. She says her company got wrapped up with some bad contractors.
So we do really feel as though we do our best and then some to go over and beyond for any consumer.
But I also did a little digging. It seems Southern Guarantee has a plethora of bad complaints, getting an F rating from the Better Business Bureau and some 79 complaints in the last year.
It is bad businesses doing bad things to people. So they're setting up as moving companies. They'll come with a truck and take your stuff and disappear.
Cook says they have a great track record of making things right with their customers.
We cannot predict what a carrier or even a customer might do.
But it took our calls to the company just to get things moving along for Jimmy.
It's about $100,000 for the property. All new TVs, computers, laptops, for a brand new fridge, brand new washer and dryer, and my extra wheelchair that I just got.
He's been told the truck is now on its way, and Cook says she promises to make things right with the Bell family.
It's not just my stuff. It's my kids' stuff, it's my wife's stuff, and it's 40 years.
He wants others to know the moving scam is real, and it can impact anyone.
All right, well, I did reach out to Billings police. They say that the conflict falls under a civil complaint, so no criminal charges are filed. And Jimmy tells me as of this morning that the driver is supposed to arrive tonight with the family's possessions. We're going to keep you updated on if that truck does arrive and what the contents, or if all of the contents are there inside of that truck. Okay, so we're going to move over to the weather now. We've got Miller Robson in with us.
Well, good morning, Andrea.
Good morning to you.
Guess what?
What?
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Friday. Boom. Yeah, you ready for the weekend?
How excited are you for Friday?
I'm really excited about it.
I am too, yeah.
And we've got rain as we head into the weekend, and we're going to warm back up, and then we're going to cool right back down. Maybe a big cool down on the way. As we take a live look at the mothership in the background, let's take a look at yesterday. Our high got up to about 76, so pretty much on par where we should be. Overnight low just a little warmer than normal, got down to about 51. Yesterday, our top gust, 16 miles an hour. Of course, no precipitation to speak of for the month. Well, we're still pacing behind, but we may wipe out that number as we get into this evening. We may get a 1/4 inch of rainfall here in Billings alone. For the year, though, we're still pacing ahead. Pretty good shape there. Temperature-wise, most of us getting up in the 40s and 50s this morning. We're at 53 right now at the airport. You can see those temperatures across the area. Just a few here. Huntley at 54, Livingston 47, 51 in Harlingen. Down in Clark, we're at 51. Belfry, how you guys doing? You're sitting at 56. 60s and 70s today, maybe flirting with the 80s. You can see all that rain rolling through the area. We'll tell you about that, tell you about the warm-up, and about the possibility of a big cool down heading our way.
Yeah, Miller asked me earlier if I had an umbrella handy.
Yeah, don't get to say that much here in Montana and Wyoming, but do you have an umbrella?
No, I literally do not have
You got
an
a
umbrella.
raincoat, like a slicker or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I have like a really nice raincoat that keeps you really warm, and yeah, that's just what we use. I don't know.
You might want to keep that handy later today and tonight.
I think maybe the umbrella doesn't work, you know, because you have to get in and out of the car. Everyone drives here.
Just
I don't know.
too much work.
You know, and then it's like the unlucky thing about putting it. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, if you have
It's never a happy story with you, Andrea.
There's always got to be something. I'm always throwing another challenge at you. All right, Miller, thanks so much. Yeah. All right, today marks exactly 8 months since 15-year-old Cohen Parker was shot and killed in the Billings Heights. Happening this morning, 2 adults connected to his case will appear in court. But first, Q2's Alina Howder has more on the 3 teenagers facing those felony charges.
I'm ordering bond in the amount of $100,000.
On a Thursday when most teens were in a classroom, these 3 were in a Billings courtroom in jail jumpsuits facing felony charges connected to the death of Cohen Parker. 16-year-old Andy Grusing faces the most serious charge of negligent homicide. He's accused of firing the bullet that ricocheted off the asphalt of this parking lot, killing Cohen Parker.
There's definitely a little bit of anger, especially because it doesn't matter how old we are or what we've been through. We still have the ability as human beings to do the right thing, and that wasn't done in this case.
It was also revealed Thursday that Grusing was suspended from school for bringing a knife and drugs to campus. Rachel Dealer is a family friend of the Parkers, one of many furious to learn of the new details now emerging. Dealer owns High Tide Casino and raised reward money for any tips about Cohen's murder, and is now a witness for the state.
I just felt like it was the right thing to do and felt called to do it.
Prosecutors also provided new details Thursday about one of the other suspects. It turns out 18-year-old Jesse Ray Myers is connected to yet another shooting along Lake Elmo.
Youth in that case is alleged to have fired off a handgun in Lake Elmo Park.
Last October, a 15-year-old was shot by a 14-year-old along the lake. Although it wasn't clear in court Thursday if that's the shooting County Attorney Paul Vestal was referring to. Myers faces felony charges in Cohen Parker's case, including obstruction of justice and tampering with witnesses.
Are you Ellie Jane Graham?
Graham, the 3rd juvenile, is facing 8 counts. Police say she instructed Myers to withhold his cell phone from law enforcement, preventing them from accessing evidence.
Cohen can never be brought back, and then there's the fact that all these families are upside down, and then you see the kids responsible, and it's like, oh my God, they're just babies.
For Rachel Dealer, the young age of the suspects shouldn't matter. She just wants justice to be served.
Basically, like, whatever needs to be done to bring justice to the family and for these kids to actually feel the repercussions of the severity of this situation.
In Billings, Alina Howder, MTN News.
All right, and we have new details on that group of teenagers involved in that shooting at Montana Fair. The Billings police chief says the department doesn't consider them gangs. Despite taking part in some gang-like activity, the chief says these specific criminals just don't meet the criteria. And to be a gang, a group needs to identify to a linked specific color, name, or symbol. Chief Rich St. John also says these groups aren't organized enough to qualify.
It's a criminal enterprise, and when we talk about a criminal enterprise, automatic we're looking at the drug trafficking. And we know that there are elements of the cartel that are up here.
Well, St. John says it's likely there are members of larger national gangs in Billings related to drug trafficking in our region. But a recent assessment from a gang expert found it is not a problem in Billings. Billings parents are seeking help for their children as their peers get wrapped up in this dangerous activity. Q2's Haley Monaco shows us some options available for families right now in Billings.
No parent ever wants to have to imagine their child in a dangerous situation, especially one involving a weapon. But we've seen far too many of those scenarios in Billings over the past year. That's why the classes that happen here are so important.
Our goal, my job, is to show up there and honestly love on these kids by showing them how to protect themselves and keep themselves safe.
Dennis Forleo started teaching self-defense classes through Tumbleweed years ago, and this year, after learning how much the kids loved it, decided to make it a monthly class.
Learning some skills and things that can help keep them safe has been, life-changing for some of them.
The Tumbleweed program provides services to homeless, vulnerable, and runaway youth, and this one service is essential.
It helps them build their self-confidence, not only knowing that they can go out and feel that they can defend themselves, but also it builds their confidence in terms of applying for a job.
At a time when there seems to be so much youth violence in the city, being able to protect oneself is imperative.
It is a resource, it is a life skill for the youth to have, but as a last resort.
One of Forleo's main goals is to teach the youth to not be in a dangerous situation in the first place, but understands that it can happen. In the series of classes, he also teaches how to react if a weapon is involved.
It's sad that these things keep popping up, but it's having people have the tools and skills to deal with it. This is what we're all about.
And in addition to life-saving skills, Forleo also teaches an important message, that these kids are valuable.
Hopefully I can be an example to them that someone in the world believes they're worth it, that they're worth defending, that they're worth spending the time to teach and train the kids.
In Billings, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, Haley. There are new developments this morning. A major ruling in Montana surrounding those transgender rights. A Yellowstone County judge says the state health department can't implement a rule that would make it harder for Montanans to change their gender on their birth certificate. A newly passed law would require a person to prove they got reassignment surgery and the court order to update their documents, but a judge says the state must now return to the previous process. President Biden is criticizing Republican governors who sent buses of migrants to so-called sanctuary cities in the Northeast. Planes filled with migrants landed in Martha's Vineyard in Washington, D.C., and now governors are promising there are more on the way. CBS's Bradley Blackburn reports.
2 planes landed Wednesday on the wealthy Massachusetts island Martha's Vineyard, carrying dozens of migrants who came to the U.S. seeking a better life. One of them, Luis Fonseca, told reporters he did not know he would end up here. They told me there was a work opportunity. He says, we were going to a city but ended up staying here. The flights were arranged by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, whose state has earmarked $12 million to send, quote, unauthorized aliens to Democrat strongholds.
Every community in America should be sharing in the burdens. It shouldn't all fall on a handful of red states.
DeSantis and Republican governors from Arizona and Texas are intensifying their efforts to move migrants to so-called sanctuary cities. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has already bused more than 10,000 here to New York, to Chicago, and to Washington, D.C. That's where yesterday 100 more were dropped off near the vice president's residence at the Naval Observatory. Aid workers said they scrambled to help.
We just got word that the bus was going to be here, so we had to all move here.
Last night, President Biden called the transports a political stunt.
Instead of working with us on solutions, Republicans are playing politics with human beings, using them as props. What they're doing is simply wrong. It's un-American. It's reckless.
The White House said federal officials got no warning about the transports to Washington and Massachusetts. At the southern border, migrant apprehensions are set to surpass 2 million this fiscal year, an all-time high. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Now, the White House says the Department of Homeland Security and local governments were not alerted about this week's arrivals. Meanwhile, Fox News had cameras in position to document the arrivals in both Massachusetts and Washington, D.C.